Australia's maritime security has long depended on the quiet certainty provided by submarines operating invisibly beneath the surface. This strategic logic, shaped by geography, vulnerability, and the vast distances surrounding the continent, has endured for decades. Yet today, Australia stands at a decisive crossroads. The future seemingly belongs to the nuclear-powered Orcus-class submarines planned under the AUKUS framework, but these vessels remain a vision, one that will not fully materialize until the mid-2030s or later. This time lag creates a strategic gap that cannot be overlooked. In this environment, the long-serving Collins-class submarines, despite their age and the criticisms often directed at them, have become nothing less than indispensable to Australia's immediate security posture. For many Australians, the Collins-class is more than a submarine program. It is a symbol of a past era's ambition to achieve industrial sovereignty in defense manufacturing. Conceived and built domestically, tailored for unique Australian conditions, the Collins program represented a bold assertion of national capability. However, its early operational history was marred by mechanical failures, acoustic issues, sensor unreliability, software shortcomings, and maintenance delays. These weaknesses were magnified in the public eye and used as ammunition in discussions about procurement inefficiencies and management failures. Over time, however, the narrative shifted. Incremental but persistent upgrades, refined maintenance cycles and improved crew training transformed Collins into a quiet, capable diesel-electric submarine suitable for patrol, surveillance and deterrence missions across the Indo-Pacific. The central question today is not whether Collins is perfect, but whether it is sufficient, and for now, it remains so. While Collins cannot match the latest Japanese Taigei-class submarines or South Korea's advanced KSS-3 platforms, its relevance lies in fulfilling Australia's current operational needs. Submarines are not tools of symbolic power, they are instruments of uncertainty. A surface warship announces its presence, but a submarine announces doubt. Even an aging submarine forces potential adversaries to question what it may be observing, targeting, or shadowing. That ambiguity is invaluable. Australia's vast maritime approaches require persistent, covert patrols over moderate distances, monitoring choke points and protecting vital sea lines. In these roles, Collins continues to perform effectively, even as more modern competitors enter the region. Recognizing this, the Australian government has chosen not to prematurely retire the Collins class but instead extend its service life through an extensive life-of-type extension program. Some outside observers misinterpret this as clinging to outdated technology. Defense experts, however, understand it as a pragmatic, unavoidable step. Nuclear submarines cannot simply be purchased off the shelf. They require a mature industrial ecosystem, nuclear handling protocols, reactor-qualified personnel, specialized training pathways, new shipyard infrastructure, long-term supply chains and a stable engineering workforce. Without the Collins fleet bridging the gap, Australia would face a capability vacuum in an era when submarine competition in the Indo-Pacific is intensifying. This is a risk Canberra simply cannot take. The life-of-type extension is not a superficial refurbishment. It includes modernized sonar arrays, upgraded electronic systems, revamped periscopes, refreshed combat management software, hull integrity treatments and the overhaul of core mechanical components. The goal is not to transform Collins into a peer of the newest regional submarines, but to ensure reliable operational readiness through the 2030s. This extension becomes especially vital considering the growing naval capabilities of neighboring powers. China continues its broad expansion of both diesel-electric and nuclear submarines. Japan operates one of the world's most advanced conventional fleets. South Korea is rapidly establishing itself as a leader in undersea warfare. In such a strategic environment, Australia cannot afford a decade marked by diminished deterrence. Equally important is the industrial continuity offered by the Collins fleet. Maintaining and upgrading these submarines sustains a specialized workforce within the Australian Submarine Corporation in Osborne. The technicians, engineers, and naval experts who keep Collins operational today are the same people who will form the foundational expertise required for nuclear submarine operations in the future. If the Collins class were retired early, this workforce would disperse, and the institutional knowledge painstakingly built over decades would evaporate. The Collins program, therefore, serves not only as an operational asset but as a training ground and talent pipeline necessary for Australia's entry into the nuclear submarine era. There is also a powerful signaling dimension to consider. By keeping Collins active and credible, Australia demonstrates to allies, particularly the United States, that it is maintaining meaningful undersea capabilities rather than relying solely on future promises. At the same time, it signals to potential adversaries that Australian waters remain contested and monitored. Joint training activities, intelligence sharing exercises and cooperative patrol patterns all depend on Australia sustaining an operational submarine fleet today, not merely planning for tomorrow. In strategic terms, a single Collins submarine at sea today is more valuable than a nuclear submarine that will not exist for another decade. Of course, the Collins class is not without its risks. Aging platforms inevitably face increasing maintenance demands. Hull fatigue, corrosion and subsystem failures remain persistent concerns. Availability rates have fluctuated, and in some periods only a portion of the fleet was mission-ready. The life extension program itself is technically complex and vulnerable to cost overruns. There is no guarantee of perfect readiness throughout the extended service period. Yet focusing solely on these challenges misses the broader strategic picture. Imperfect capability is still vastly preferable to none, particularly in a region where naval modernization is accelerating across multiple fronts. Ultimately, the Collins fleet should be seen as a transitional capability, a bridge rather than a destination. As nuclear-powered submarines begin to enter service, Collins will gradually shift away from frontline duties. Some boats may be decommissioned, others reassigned to training or experimentation. Their legacy will not be defined by their final operational years but by their role in preserving Australia's submarine proficiency during a pivotal generational shift. They ensure that when the nuclear era fully arrives, Australia will step into it not from a position of vulnerability, but with uninterrupted deterrence and a seasoned industrial base. For the Australian public, the heart of the issue is continuity of deterrence. Australia has chosen the path of responsible capability management rather than accepting strategic gaps. The Collins class allowed the country to rise as a significant undersea power in the 1990s and 2000s. It will allow Australia to maintain that status into the 2020s and early 2030s. And when the first nuclear submarines eventually sail under the Royal Australian Navy flag, they will do so not after a decade of silence, but through a steady, deliberate transition built on the foundation that Collins continues to provide. This is why the Collins class remains more than an aging platform. It remains a strategic bridge, ensuring that Australia does not step back, but moves forward with confidence into a new era of undersea warfare.